Greetings, everyone. This is Rock and Roll Spot Connection with my review of Invisible Man. So, Invisible Man is the most recent take on the concept of the Invisible Man. However, it's also a fairly different take for more than a few reasons. As what it's about overall, after the death of her abusive husband, the woman claims that she's being stalked by her late husband. Some quick takes. It's a fairly good psychological thriller slash horror movie that focuses is very clearly about the effects of stalking on people. Got a pretty good cast, some very solid invisibility effects, but there are some points where the movie kind of lags, and I feel there was some missed potential in the story. So moving on to the cast of note, we've got Elizabeth Moss from The Handmaid's Tale and The Kitchen as Cecilia Cass. She's a former architect who's married to an abusive and controlling scientist, and she's the film's protagonist. We got Aldous Hodge as James Lanier, police officer, single father, and also a friend of Cecilia's. Apparently, it's not. I don't recall there being a point in the movie where they established how the length of the friendship or anything, but it is at least it does kind of, you get the sense that yes, they've been friends for a while. Next up, we got Harriet Dyer as Emily Cass, Cecilia's sister. She, tends to be fairly confident, protective, especially of her sister. Then let's see, Storm Reed as Sydney Lanier, who's James's goal-oriented daughter, very smart. One of the primary goal is getting into Parsons. Then we got Oliver Jackson Cohen as Adrian Griffin, Cecilia's abusive husband, and the titular Invisible Man. In addition to being abusive, he's also extremely controlling. And finally, we have Michael Dorman as Tom Griffin, Adrian's brother and lawyer. So, the movie begins by showing Cecilia leaving her husband, Adrian. And she's picked up by her sister Emily, taken to stay with her friend James, as well as James's daughter, Sydney. After a couple weeks, Cecilia hasn't left the house. She's still sitting. She'll look out the window and stay inside. And it's mainly out of fear that Adrian is lying in wait for her. Sure, he doesn't know about. He seemingly doesn't know about James, but he's smart. Somehow he could probably figure it out. However, Emily shows back up and dispels these thoughts, as apparently Adrian has killed himself. So Emily and Cecilia meet up with Tom, Adrian's brother and lawyer, who informs Cecilia that she has inherited a $5 million trust, which will pay out over about 4 years or so, monthly increments. So Cecilia opts to do some nice things for herself, as well as James and Sydney. However, it's at this point that little odd things start to happen. And they start small, but she starts to think that Adrian's doing them, but he's dead. And no one will believe her. Even as the occurrences escalate, which leads to Cecilia becoming more and more isolated from her friends, as she is very clearly being stalked. So the ups and downs of the film. First off, very good visibility effects. I mean, yeah, it's usually a lot of the visibility effects really are just, hey, there's totally something there, but you can't see it. But there are points like, seeing the indentation of a foot appear on a carpet, or there's all the film's climax involves rain. Then you got, speaking of the invisibility as well, the movie's means of explaining the invisibility is interesting. I don't necessarily want to say unique because I'm sure it has it. I'm sure it's been done before, but I just can't think of anyone that has done it this way. But for but usually not as a not like an Invisible Man movie. It's usually, oh, some horrible chemical accident turned me invisible. This is something very different. Good casting, some very good camera work that really does kind of help build a. I know I use this term a lot, like a sense of dread throughout the movie, and usually a lot of this camera work is usually just, hey, okay, well, how about we'll start with the focus on Cecilia, and we'll pan over here to this largest empty frame, and we'll sit on that empty spot for like 2 or 3 minutes, which does get everything kind of you just want, is he there? And it's not, yes, I know it's not just, it's also things like sound and music editing, so on and so forth. But yeah, it the combination actually does really help for setting the tone. On the downside, the story idea is not bad. I actually really like the story idea. I just feel like it could have been executed a little bit better. The main thing to me is that I kind of think that the movie tipped its hand too early on. Say, yeah, she actually is being stalked, rather than kind of build on the idea of, oh, she has, kind of, as opposed to, is Cecilia being stalked, or does she need to maybe speak to a therapist, or something? Is she imagining it? And you get those questions for a little bit, but then it becomes very clear. There's a very clear point that says, yeah, and it's not too far into the movie. It says, yeah, she's being stalked. Another problem with the movie is it does kind of lag in some parts, which actually makes the movie feel longer than it is, or at least makes it feel like it actually is as long as it is. The movie's a little over 2 hours, and it honestly feels like it. Maybe a little bit longer, but yeah. Yeah, so moving on over to my overall opinion. Honestly, it's a potentially solid psychological thriller that does sadly squander some of its potential, though it is still overall fairly well done. Rating wise, I gotta say 3.5 out of 5. It's not amazing, but I mean, I've seen worse movies. Anyway, that's all for now. As always, feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Links to my Facebook, Twitter, Patreon, and PayPal can be found in the description box down below. This is Rock and Roll Spock signing off, saying, live long and rock hard.